We're in Watch Hill, Rhode Island at the historic Watch Hill Inn. This is one of Karen and my favorite places in all of Rhode Island. I love this spot. For the view, of course, I mean, you are right on the Atlantic Ocean. It is just stunning. And because you're close to my good buddy Taylor Swift. her mansion is literally one block up the road. I don't know, she's probably got other, I'm sure she has other properties around the country, around the world. But yeah, she bought a property here in Rhode Island, Watch Hill, and occasionally there's Taylor Swift sightings in Rhode Island. It's funny because, you know, 30 plus years ago when I moved to Rhode Island, people were like, Rhode Island? Where are you moving to? Is that part of New York? They're thinking Long Island. People didn't even really know where Rhode Island was, much less anything about it. And now it's like, oh, I know where Rhode Island is. That's where Taylor Swift lives. So it's really funny. Again, we're here during the shoulder season. I call it the shoulder season, but boy, this is definitely the off season here in Watch Hill. We drove through the little village down there, and Karen said she saw 2 shops that were open. I didn't see anything that was open. There are dozens and dozens and dozens of shops down there. I didn't see a single one that was open. They were all closed for the season. See you next year, see you next spring. It seems like this place, the Watch Hill Inn, I'm sure they're open year round, it's the only place that's open. Now, the bar was pretty full. There were people sitting there eating lunch and enjoying drinks. But we decided to sit here out on the veranda because this is my favorite place at the Watch Hill Inn. And if we were here in the summer, good luck getting a prime seat like this overlooking the ocean. You might have to wait an hour to get a seat like this, or even longer. But here we are literally the only people sitting out on this gorgeous veranda. And the weather is gorgeous today, absolutely fantastic. So fortunate for this. Let me tell you what I planned for this video. So this video is going to be about reverse culture shock. And you've probably heard of culture shock. That's when you are from one place and you go to a different place, and certain customs or the way people act or what they eat or just how they behave is different and is strange to you. And that's what culture shock is. You know that. Reverse culture shock is when you're from a place, you go to a new place, and then you go back to that original place, and all the things that you were used to from that original place now seem strange to you because you've come from that other place. And that's kind of what we're experiencing here, returning to the United States after almost 2 years of living in Portugal. We'll be going back to Portugal soon, but being here for a few weeks, I've noticed some things that are kind of unusual to me, and I'm going to talk about them in this video. First and foremost, the thing that we noticed was just the prices of things are just so expensive here. Now, I know inflation has been a worldwide phenomenon. Where we live in Portugal, there's been inflation, but it seems like here in the United States, boy, it has just been incredible the way prices have gone up. And I feel in a certain way like maybe some places are taking advantage of people, that they're boosting prices just for the excuse of boosting prices, not because their costs are going up. That's just kind of the feeling I get. I don't know whether that's true or not, but boy, things are so expensive here. I'll give you an example. We were at a bar in Newport the other night and ordered one drink, not a drink for each of us, one drink was $30. And I was just, whoa. I mean, it was a nice drink and it tasted good and it was very nice. And it was in a very nice place, but still, $30 for one drink. Karen and I were like, good thing we both didn't get one, you know? Good thing we didn't get 2 drinks each. I mean, we would have been in for over $100 for 2 drinks each. So that's one thing. The cost of food is just, to me, is outrageous. Now, part of the reason why is not only inflation, but we're coming from a place in Portugal where the cost of living is much lower, and the cost of food especially is much lower. We are used to going into a bar and getting a glass of wine for €3, $3 and change, and a good glass of wine. Now you can get a cheap glass of, average wine for €1 or €1.50, but I could get a glass of wine like this for €3, €4, €5, something like that, and it would be an excellent glass of wine. Now, it wouldn't be from the Willamette Valley like this one is. Very nice Pinot Noir. But it would be from our region or from somewhere else in Portugal, and it would be very, very good. So you compare that to a $15 glass of wine or a $20 glass of wine, and you can see how I've been shocked. Dining out, extraordinarily expensive. Grocery store prices, extraordinarily expensive. The cost of hotels has shot up dramatically. We're talking to friends and relatives who live in the States, and a lot of people were coming into the winter here. A lot of people are talking about the cost of heating their homes, paying hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month for heating their house. And prices, I was just taken aback by what things were costing. So that's the first major culture shock that we've experienced. So we'll talk about a couple more of those, but for now, I'm going to enjoy my wine. Karen got a French 75 because the first time that we came here together, this is what she ordered. She didn't know what a French 75 was. I have to admit, at the time, I didn't either. This is many years ago. But she liked the fact that it was a champagne cocktail. It's made with champagne, gin, a little simple syrup, and a little lemon juice. And it's very good. I like it because that lemon juice gives a little bit of tartness to go with the champagne. Really nice. But the funny thing was, the first time we got it, it was way too much gin. The balance was way off because of all the gin. And Karen said, this isn't right. Even though we didn't exactly know what a French 75 was, we knew that it wasn't to her taste at least. And since then we've discovered that it wasn't made properly. And tried to send it back, and the waitress argued with us. It all turned out fine, and every experience, I'm not saying that to bag on the Watch Hill Inn, because every experience we've had here at the Watch Hill Inn has been extraordinary. You can stay here. This is a hotel. You can also eat here. They have a very fine kitchen, a very fine restaurant. All the food we've ever had here has been very, very good. So this is an extraordinary high-end place for you to stay. And if you come to Rhode Island, definitely make Watch Hill Inn on your list, and maybe you and Taylor can hang out on the veranda and enjoy a glass of wine from Oregon. Behind me is the Watch Hill Lighthouse, and you can walk down here or drive down here to see it when you're in Watch Hill. There's been a lighthouse on the site since 1745, before there even was a United States of America. Of course, that's not the original structure behind me. It was destroyed and rebuilt a couple of times. Even though there is a lighthouse here and all along the Atlantic coast, it hasn't stopped ships from wrecking out on these rocky shoals out here. There have been several shipwrecks that have claimed dozens, even hundreds of lives, but it still operates as a beacon, although the Coast Guard doesn't own it anymore. They've leased it off to the Lighthouse Association. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about reverse culture shock, and one thing that I've really been noticing since we've been here for a few weeks in the US is just the unbelievable amount of choice and diversity and selection when you go shopping that is not available in the United States. We have a grocery store near our house, and we go shopping there for our staples, oat milk and rice and pasta and things like that. And it's a you know, an average sized grocery store for Portugal. In the US, it would be considered like a big convenience store. That's what the size of it is, but that's the size of the grocery store. And there's not a huge selection. A lot of stuff that I look for is difficult to find. Here in the US, you walk down any major grocery store and the selection now to me is just absolutely overwhelming of all kinds of stuff for all kinds of people and all kinds of tastes and all kinds of ethnicities. So that is really quite extraordinary to me. And the other thing is the convenience. You can get what you want anytime, any day, whenever you want it. And that simply isn't available the same way in Portugal. Just isn't. Stores close early, stores are closed on Sundays, and if that's when you want it, well, you're kind of out of luck. Oh well, you have to wait till the next day, so you kind of have to plan ahead. Now, the other thing that I noticed was the produce. Now, we live near a fantastic green market within 5-10 minute walk of our apartment in Portugal, and we're there 2, 3, 4 times a week, sometimes more, to buy our fruits and vegetables. And the quality of those fruits and vegetables is outstanding. However, a lot of it is limited to what's in season in Portugal, in Spain, and nearby Europe. Here in the US, you know, we go into the grocery store and you can get anything, any time of year, anytime you want it. And that was kind of a different thing to deal with. The thing that you got to understand, though, is a lot of times when you get these fruits and vegetables and they're out of season, they might have been shipped from far, far away, not picked at their peak ripeness, and they don't taste that great. I mean, how many times have you got a tomato in the middle of winter and it tasted like crap? Or got a strawberry in the middle of winter and it had no flavor whatsoever? In Portugal, we get strawberries in the early spring, and then we get another harvest of strawberries later in the summer, and that's when you buy strawberries. The rest of the year, well, if you really need strawberries, maybe you get frozen strawberries, but you're not going to find fresh strawberries coming from, I don't know, New Zealand or something like that in most grocery stores. In the US, that's a completely different story. So it's kind of refreshing, you know, to be able to go into the grocery store and buy, you know, prepackaged Indian food that, you know, we wouldn't get in Portugal, or to get, you know, some of these wacky different kinds of crackers and things like that that just aren't available, you know, kind of junk food and stuff like that that aren't available. Of course, there's junk food in Portugal. You know, we get potato chips and things like that. But, you know, all the different varieties of the stuff, when you walk down, you know, you've got a few feet of shelf space dedicated to corn chips and potato chips in a Portuguese grocery store. Here, you've got an aisle that's 100 feet long that has every kind of chip ever made on God's green earth. So that's something different, and it's kind of fun to be able to have these things that we just haven't had in many years. So that's it from Watch Hill. We're going to head over to Narragansett now, but I just want to say, if you like lighthouses, and I love them, I think they're historical and interesting, and they always have fun stories to tell if you research them. There's tons of lighthouses here in Rhode Island, and there's a group that does lighthouse boat tours in the summer. You can look that up online. Karen and I did it years and years ago, and it's a lot of fun. But there's tons of lighthouses that you can just drive to and see as well. So if that's your thing, I'd say go for it. Rhode Island's a great place to be able to see lots of lighthouses and lots of unique settings. We're in Narragansett, and we had to come to one of our all-time favorite places before we leave Rhode Island. This is Crazy Burger. This is mostly vegetarian place, but they serve, I think they have salmon on the menu and like turkey sausage, stuff like that. but mostly vegetarian. Karen and I, when we lived in this part of Rhode Island, we used to come here all the time. And one of the things we said was we always would get the sweet potato fries. Karen loves their sweet potato fries, but this time we got their home fries, and they are seasoned so nicely. I can't believe it's the first time I've ever tried their home fries. In addition, the waitress said, "You want some hot sauce with that?" I'm like, "Sure." So she comes with all of these different choices. So there's Crystals, there's, what's this one called? Ghost something. This is from San Marcos, Texas, which is just south of Boston. So I've had this before. Of course, Frank's hot sauce, and then Tabasco. And then they also have their own homemade ketchup. How many places you go to where they make their own ketchup? And their ketchup is really good. I really like their ketchup. Sweet, delicious. So, what did we get? Well, I got a couple of eggs. I really felt like I needed some protein this morning. So, eggs on toast. Probably be adding some hot sauce onto that. And then Karen got, what do they call this, a breakfast sandwich, tofu, cheese, avocado, and then of course she put some of her ketchup on this bun. So I'm going to take just one bite of Karen's here. They do such a nice job here. I remember when this place opened, man, it must be 30 years ago now. A friend of mine helped start this restaurant way back then, an old co-worker. And I'm just so happy how it's just blossomed into this institution now in Narragansett. A lot of times we sit inside. Today is an absolutely gorgeous day in Rhode Island. Probably the nicest day we've had so far, and we've had some pretty nice days. Out here on this back patio, they've got all these collage of different paintings that has kind of a Van Gogh vibe to it. So it's a really hip, cool place to be. The food is excellent. I really like it. Prices are reasonable for what you get, which is a lot. And you're within walking distance of the ocean. So you can come here, you can get a great lunch or a great dinner, and then walk right to the waterfront. You go to the Coast Guard House, get a cocktail overlooking the ocean, or walk down to Narragansett Town Beach, watch the surfers on the tiny little Rhode Island waves that come up here, unless there's a hurricane, or just stroll along the promenade. It's a gorgeous part of the country that not enough people know about. If you're local here, if you're a Rhode Islander or even a New Englander, you probably know about it, and you'll see it's crowded in the summer. But most of the rest of the world, they don't know about Narragansett. And I'm here to ring the bell, sound the horn, and tell people that it's a great place to come. And they've got great places to eat as well. So I'm going to enjoy mine, and hope we'll catch you here next time. Okay, we're in Narragansett, Rhode Island. To my left is the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean. Behind me on my left-hand side is the Coast Guard House. This is a great place to come and get a cocktail. They've got a deck right overlooking the ocean, and in the summer this is a spectacular place to come. Any time of year, really, as long as that deck is open. And then behind me on over my right shoulder is the Narragansett Towers, which is the iconic landmark of Narragansett. So the final reverse culture shock that I wanted to talk about was the idea that you must have a car to get around here in the United States. For the last 2 years living in Portugal, we haven't had a car. When we moved from the US to Portugal, we sold our car, and we thought, well, we'll see what happens in Portugal. Maybe we're going to have to get a car, but I'd like to try living without a car. And I got to say, I love the car-free lifestyle. How do we get around? Well, we walk. We walk a lot of places, but we also use mass transit. We use the local bus, and if we want to go to Lisbon, which is less than an hour away, we take the train, or we take the bus, or we take the train and the ferry, you know, depending on where we're going and how we want to get there. And it's super easy. We spend 40 euros a month on a transit pass, and it gets us the entire municipality, not just our city, but into Lisbon and all over that entire region. So practically anywhere that we need to go during the month is covered by that 40 euros. Occasionally we'll pick up a Bolt or an Uber or something like that, but for the most part, we live off of that transit pass, and that's our only transportation expense. I haven't missed having a car. We came here to the US, and the first thing I thought was, can we get away without getting a car? And Karen was like, no, of course we can't. And she's right, we can't. When we were in Chicago, luckily we were staying with friends who had cars, and so they drove us around, and if we needed to get into the city, we took the train. So we didn't have to rent a car there, but in Rhode Island, in New England, in Cape Cod, we had to have a car. There was no way getting around it. And a lot of people would say, well, you know, Europe is different from the US. You know, depending on how you measure it, Europe can be about the same size as the continental US, and yet it is much more connected by mass transit, by train, by bus, and it's much easier to live without a car. You know, I had a car since I was 16 years old, and I loved the freedom of having a car when I was a teenager, but frankly, to me, a car now is a burden of gas and insurance and maintenance and repairs and finding a frickin' parking spot. My God, I can't tell you how much time we've spent looking for parking spots and paying outrageous, people want 20 bucks just for parking in Rhode Island. We're not in New York, we're in Rhode Island. So really, I know that people love their cars. I gotta say, one thing that I do not miss is living car-free. In fact, it's one of, to me, the big pros of our life now. You know, you may think differently, and that's fine. So that's about it for this video. You know, if you're thinking of coming to New England to visit, and everyone seems to want to go to Cape Cod. Cape Cod is beautiful, it's gorgeous, you should go. You should go to Martha's Vineyard, you should go to Nantucket. But Rhode Island is so incredibly underrated, and for my money, Narragansett, which is right on the ocean, is as nice, if not nicer, than Cape Cod, and definitely worth your time, and it's a heck of a lot cheaper. It's not cheap, but it's cheaper than Cape Cod in high season. So that'll do it. If you enjoy travel, you enjoy food, like and subscribe to the video. You can always check out the podcast, and you can find that on all the platforms that service for podcasts, or just go to destinationeatdrink.com/pod, and you can pick up where the podcast is there. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. More videos coming, so like and subscribe, and see you down the road.